I am happy to report that Rebecca is feeling so much better. I got a phone call from the company that makes the Quilt Sew Clever robotic portion of the machine. It has nothing to do with the actual quilting machine or the box itself that was having the problems, or the belt. So it was actually, whoops, there goes my phone. It was actually the program that was having troubles. So here, let me show you what they did and how they worked me through it. So you go up here to the little home page up here, and you'll go into the setup section here, which is the scary part, because that brings you into the section where all the programming takes place. And if you're not a computer type person, that's the part where you're saying, I should probably stay out of that. There's all sorts of little buttons across the top. So there's the constants and the tests and advanced and figures and stuff. And so I'd press the test, and you can do all sorts of things down here. You can test the X and the Y, and I did all that stuff. And I tested the X and the Y, and everything's tested out just fine. So I was okay going through and testing all these different things, and it runs you through the test. So I did the test X, and that'll run you through, and oh, now it's not happy. So sorry, don't do that. So see, it said y, X motor passed and the test Y, and it runs it through that part, and it says, you know, is this part working, is that part working? Everything seemed like it was doing that. So the Y motor passes. So the motors are all working fine. So I'd gone through that yesterday myself to see, are the motors working? And it said, yeah, everything was going okay. So he brought me into this screen here, and he had me read him these numbers, and this is where the problem was. This is supposed to be at 8. Whoops, okay, cancel that. Don't click on it. This is supposed to be at 8. The XKI, whatever these numbers mean, was set at 8. The YKI was set at 8. The XKD, this number right here is supposed to be set at 40, and the YKD is supposed to be set at 40. This was 1185. I had never checked on that or clicked on it or anything like that, but this number, for some reason, is supposed to be set at 40 and 40, and this was set at 1185. So it was reading a number that was set way off of where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be set at 40 and 40, and it was set at 1185. So it was reading a number and saying, I'm supposed to be working super, super hard, and I'm going to give you some troubles. So if you click on that, you can change that to whatever number you want it to be, and somehow it had gotten clicked and had issues, and so the motor was trying to work too hard. And when the guy on the phone said had gone to my website, because I'd sent him an email, and he'd gone to my website, watched the video, said, oh, I know what your problem is. So he had gone, had me click on the factory defaults, and it had reset the computer and got me to going where it was supposed to be. So he had me run through a bunch of, whoops, yeah, so some of these things you go onto the screen, it says, you know, what's your password, so you know you're not going into that area. So another thing that he had me go in to do was the constants, and these are normally set at 30 and 30, and so he showed me what to do on these. You can change these, and that's how hard it's pulling on that cable that goes across it. So the X and the Y power, those are the cables. The X is the side to side, and the Y is the front and back. The X is that white, mine's kind of brown now because it's got dirt on it, but the white one that goes side to side, and that's normally set at 30 and 30. I've upped mine to 45 and 45 because my star pattern here, I'll show you what that looks like if you can see this. This star pattern was starting to give me a stronger wobble right here, and he says in order to straighten that out, if it's giving you issues going around curves or going along a straight line, if you change these numbers here, he says you can change them, it doesn't hurt anything. You can change them back as much as you want or up as strong as you want. I've upped it to 45 and 45, and it's giving me a much smoother pattern here. See if you can see it on this guy. It's making my star, these lines are now becoming a lot straighter as I've changed it. I was playing around with it on the last line. And so this was the last one as I went up to 45. This one was at a 40. And see how it's a lot wobblier here? But he says you can go ahead and play with that. It doesn't hurt the machine at all to change those numbers. And different quilts, different fabrics, different tension on the actual quilt, and that will change. The other thing that was really interesting to me was acceleration and curvature. Acceleration is how fast it starts up once it comes out of a point. He said consider that as like stepping on the gas coming out of a stop. how fast do you go faster? And he says the normal set is at a 40, so if you set that at 100, it would be like you immediately just slam on the gas and you're going to go from 0 to 100 immediately. He said so if your machine really jerks as it's coming out, you can slow that down. So I'm going to slow mine down to a 30 because my machine kind of does jerk a little bit as it's coming out of it. And then curvature is how you're going around the curve and how you slow down into a stop. My machine doesn't seem to have any problems with that, so I'm going to leave mine set at a 40. So then when you're ready to come out of that, just go on back to the thing, go on back to pattern view, and it'll bring you back to whatever pattern you're working on. So I'm super happy because as we go back to, I'm going to go ahead and push my thing and let my machine go, and you can hear what it's doing now. And another comment he made was, you know, is your machine, whoops, and now we're going to, I don't know where it's going over here because that's not anywhere close to where it's supposed to be going. But he says that beeping sound, he thought it was coming from my machine. That beeping sound, people notice that don't even realize it's there anymore. We have 3 smoke detectors that we've changed the batteries on and they still make that beeping sound. I don't hear it anymore because it's been 5 or 6 years since we replace the batteries all the time and they still keep making that beeping sound. So there's some other button or something that we're not pushing correctly. I guess maybe we should have somebody come out and fix it, but you probably hear it in the video. I don't even hear it in the video either, but there's one right above my head and that's why it keeps making that beeping sound. But yep, there it just goes again. So now I heard it because I'm listening for it. But that's our smoke detectors, just reminding us that they're there and you get used to it after a while. So yay, but I'm happy. I hope I've helped somebody else learn a little bit more about your Quilt Sew Clever robotic quilting machine. So back to quilting.